The new generation is less able to cope with problems. David Reitz directs counseling and psychological services at the Rochester Institute of Technology in New York State. Reitz says the current generation of people in their 20s, often called millennials, cannot cope with problems the same way that other generations did. Millennials are less able to solve interpersonal conflict or to accept criticism, he says. These skills, he adds, are abilities that employers like their workers to have. However, millennials are not to blame, Reitz says. Access to information about both good and bad aspects of life increased greatly over the last 30 years. He believes the parents of millennials caused their children to worry more because they worried more. I suspect that the parents of millennials parented in a very different way than previous generations. The parents of millennials parented with higher levels of anxiety. The parents of millennials were raised with much more exposure to threats within their community throughout the country, even now more internationally. Reitz says parents of millennials spent more time supervising their children than other parents did. As a result, these young people had fewer chances to learn how to take risks or solve conflicts themselves. He adds that social media also has had an influence. Websites such as Facebook and Instagram cause people to compare themselves to others in unfair ways. But Richard McKeon warns against making claims about how every member of a generation thinks or feels. There are certainly many changes in terms of the nature of neighborhoods and communities and family life and other issues over time that would make it hazardous to generalize about a whole generation of young people, says McKeon. McKeon is the chief of suicide prevention for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, known as SAMHSA. SAMHSA is a federal government agency that studies mental health issues in the U.S. The agency released a study of over 135,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 25. It found that young people in college are less likely to commit suicide than those who are not in college. In other words, college students may suffer from mental health issues, but their conditions may not be as severe as those who are not in college. McKeon also notes millennials are not the first generation of young people to face severe mental health issues. In the 1980s and 1990s, the suicide rate among youth in the U.S. reached levels that experts had never seen before. Pennsylvania State University's Ben Locke says a common concern is that colleges and universities do not have enough resources for students in need. Locke is Penn State's Counseling Services Director. But David Reitz at the Rochester Institute of Technology notes that most colleges have experts whom students can meet with to discuss their problems and help them cope. Therapy groups are common as well.